36, let's have a look. Simplify and solve each equation below 4x. All right, that's easy enough. Now it does say to show your work and check your answer, so make sure that you do both of those things. It's not optional. They're telling you show your work and you want to check that answer. So part A, let's do this. We've got 24 equals 3x plus 3. I'm going to draw a line down the middle to organize my work. I'm going to subtract 3 from each side. So I'm left with 21 equals 3x. We'll divide by 3 on each side to get 7 equals x. Alright, now I'm done, right? Time to move on to B. No, wrong. Actually, we need to do our check. Alright, and for our check, we want to remember that those parentheses are extremely important. So we're going to do 24 equals 3, parenthesis 7, and parenthesis plus 3, and you know that 3 times 7 is 21, plus 3 is 24, or if you want to pop all of that into your calculator exactly as it's written, parentheses and all, you'll get 24, unless if you put something in wrong. And x equals 7 for part A. On to part B. Alright, we have here 2 times the quantity of x minus 6 equals x minus 14. Well, I see I've got this 2 outside of my parentheses, and I know that that needs to distribute to each of my terms inside the parentheses. So 2 times x gives me 2x, minus 2 times 6 gives me 12, and that equals x minus 14. I'm going to go ahead and take away an x from this side to get a 0 pair. And subtract 1 from here, so I'm left with x minus 12 equals negative 14. I'll add 12 to both sides, and I should be left with x equals negative 2. Alright, don't forget about that check. We know that those parentheses are important. So I have 2 parentheses, oh goodness, negative 2 minus 6, and that equals x. No, forgot to plug in. And that should be equal to negative 2 minus 14. So, oh boy. So negative 2 minus 14. Alright, good enough. So, go ahead and put each side into your parentheses. And when you do this, you should get negative 16 on each side. If you want to use your brain, that's fantastic. Go for it. Good for you. But definitely make sure you're checking with that calculator. So negative 16, yeah, that's equal to negative 16. So we solved through that one correctly. And part C. So for part C, I have 3 times the quantity of 2x minus 3 equals 4x minus 5. Alright, I've got a 3 outside of my parentheses, so I know we're going to distribute that. 3 times 2x gives me 6x, minus 3 times 3 gives me 9, and that equals 4x minus 5. So what I'll do is I'll subtract my 4x from here, and from this side as well. So 6x minus 4x gives me 2x. I'll bring down my minus 9. And that equals, now be careful because it's kind of hiding in there. I kind of covered it up a little bit with my 0 pair circle, but that's a negative 5. So don't forget that negative. Okay, now I can go ahead and add a 9 to each side. That creates a 0 pair. And I would have 2x equals negative 5 plus 9 gives me a positive 4. Let's go ahead and divide by 2 on each side, and 4 divided by 2 would give me 2. So x is equal to 2. Now we want to be sure to check that answer and not just go off of my word. So let's plug it in. 3 times 2 x, now 2 we're plugging in for x, minus 3, we're going to end that parenthesis and set it equal to 4 times 2 minus 5. Now when you put these in your calculator, you should end up with 3 on each side. If you didn't, then you've done something wrong. So, make sure that you use your parentheses and make sure that you are accounting for all of the subtraction and negative signs as well. On to part D. All right, part D. Oh no, there's a fraction. So we have 3/4 x equals 2x minus 5. All right. So rather than panicking, what we're going to do is find a common denominator to multiply this entire equation by. That's going to give us an equivalent fraction. 2x at negative 5, they're not fractions. Oh, but I can put them over 1. I can put any number over 1 and it does not change the value, but it makes it nice so that I'm only working with fractions. And put that in parentheses. Now my denominators are 4, 1, and 1. So in this case, my least common denominator is going to be 4. So I'm going to multiply all 3 of my terms. Oops. All right, all 3 of my terms, 1, term 2, term 3, all 3 of those by my common denominator. And in this case, it is the least common denominator. So 4 times 3 would give me 12. 1 times 4x gives me 4x equals 4 times 2x gives me an 8x over 1 times 1 is 1, and then minus 5 times 4 is 20, and 1 times 1 is 1. All right, so now I've multiplied all of my terms by 4. My next step is getting rid of these fractions. So to get rid of them, remember that fraction bar means the same as divide. So I would have 12 divided by 4x would give me 3x. And that equals 8x divided by 1 is 8x. And minus 20 divided by 1 is 20. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is subtract 8x from each side. I get a 0 pair here. And a 3x minus an 8x should give me a negative 5x. And that equals negative 20. So to get that x by itself, I'm going to divide by negative 5. Do that on the other side as well. And a negative 20 divided by a negative 5 is going to give me a positive 4, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And whew, we did it. We got through the fraction problem. We're done. Except for that check. And yes, we're going to do a check, fraction and all. You want to make sure you go back to that original equation. We don't want to use either of our equivalent equations. It has to be now and forever the original equation. So I'm going to have 3/4 x was 4. So 3/4 times 4, we're going to set that equal to 2. X was 4, then minus 5. So what we should get when you put this into your calculator, we should end up getting 3 on each side. So 3 is equal to 3. Yes, that checks out, and we are done for problem 936.